The suitcase gaped open on our bed, its black leather mouth spilling secrets I wasn't meant to see. I stood frozen in the doorway, my keys still jangling in my hand, the faint hum of the air conditioner filling the silence. There, nestled between neatly folded blouses and her laptop charger, were a pair of gleaming handcuffs and a coiled black whip, its leather glinting like a warning under the bedroom light. My wife, Elise, stood over the suitcase, her back to me, humming softly as she tucked a silk scarf around the items, oblivious to my presence. My stomach lurched, a cold fist tightening around my heart. This wasn't her. This couldn't be her. I didn't yell. I didn't storm in and demand answers. Instead, I slipped back into the hallway, my pulse hammering in my ears, and pressed myself against the wall, trying to make sense of what I'd just seen. Elise, my Elise, methodical, predictable, the woman who alphabetized our spice rack and cried during pet adoption commercials, packing handcuffs and a whip for a work trip? My mind scrambled for explanations, each one more absurd than the last. Was she undercover? A secret agent? A kink enthusiast I'd somehow never noticed in 8 years of marriage? I almost laughed at the thought, but the sound caught in my throat, sharp and bitter. Downstairs, the kitchen clock ticked too loudly, each second a needle pricking my skin. I poured myself a glass of water, my hands trembling so badly that half of it sloshed onto the counter. Elise's voice floated down from the bedroom, bright and casual, calling out that she'd be ready in 10 minutes. Ready for what? Her conference in Chicago? The one she'd been vague about for weeks, brushing off my questions with a smile and a quick change of subject? I stared at the water pooling on the counter, my reflection warped and fragmented, and felt the first crack in the foundation of our life together. I'd always trusted Elise implicitly. Her predictability was my anchor. Her early morning jogs, her meticulous to-do lists, the way she'd kiss my forehead before bed, even when we were too tired to talk. But now, doubt crept in like damp rot, seeping into every memory. Had her late nights at the office always been about work? The client dinners, that stretched past midnight? I thought of her phone, always face down on the nightstand, its screen lighting up with notifications she'd dismiss with a flick of her thumb. Small things I'd never questioned. Until now. Derek, you okay down there? Elise's voice snapped me back, warm but edged with something. Impatience? Guilt? I mumbled a reply, my throat dry, and climbed the stairs, each step heavier than the last. She was zipping up the suitcase now, her movements brisk, her auburn hair catching the light as she turned to smile at me. That smile, soft, familiar, the one that had disarmed me since our first date, felt like a lie now. I wanted to grab the suitcase, rip it open, and demand to know what the hell was going on. But I didn't. I stood there, gripping the doorframe, my knuckles white, and asked, "Need help with anything?" Her eyes flickered, just for a moment, before she shook her head. "I've got it." Just double-checking I didn't forget anything. Her voice was smooth, practiced, but I caught the slight tremor in her hands as she adjusted the suitcase handle. Was she nervous? Or was I projecting, seeing guilt where there was none? My mind churned, torn between confronting her and pretending I'd seen nothing. If I was wrong, I'd look like a paranoid fool. If I was right, I couldn't finish the thought. That night, after she left for the airport, I sat in our too-quiet living room, the TV flickering with some mindless sitcom I wasn't watching. The house felt wrong without her. Too big, too still, like it was holding its breath. I wandered upstairs, drawn to her closet like a moth to a flame. I told myself I was just looking for answers, but the truth was uglier. I was desperate to prove myself wrong. Her shelves were orderly, her clothes hung in neat rows, but in the back, tucked behind a box of old tax documents, I found a locked metal case. My heart sank. I didn't have the key, but I didn't need it. The case's existence was enough, a secret she'd kept from me, locked away in our shared home. I barely slept that night, my dreams fractured with images of Elise in places I couldn't reach, her laughter echoing with someone else's voice. By morning, I was a mess, my eyes bloodshot, my thoughts a tangle of suspicion and self-doubt. I called her, my thumb hovering over the dial button for a full minute before I pressed it. She answered on the third ring, her voice bright but distant, the background humming with airport noise. "Hey hon. Just landed. Everything okay?" Yeah. I lied, my voice tight. Just checking in. How's the conference? I held my breath, waiting for a slip, a hesitation, anything. It's fine. Busy. You know how these things are. She laughed, but it sounded forced, like a note played slightly off key. I'll call you tonight, okay? Love you. Love you too. I said, the words tasting like ash. I hung up and stared at my phone. Her contact photo smiling back at me. Her at the beach last summer, sunburned and grinning, her arm around my waist. Who was that woman now? Was she still mine? The next 2 days were torture. I went through the motions. Work, gym, microwave dinners. But my mind was elsewhere, replaying every moment of our marriage for clues. The time she'd come home with a new perfume I didn't recognize. The work friend, she mentioned once, then never again. The way she'd started locking her laptop, claiming it was company policy. Each memory was a pinprick, small but cumulative, until I was bleeding doubt. On the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. I logged into our shared cloud account, something I hadn't done in years. Her work calendar was there, but the conference was marked only as Chicago trip, with no details. I scrolled through her emails, my stomach churning with guilt for invading her privacy, but I found nothing. No smoking gun, no love letters, just mundane work threads and travel confirmations. Then I saw it, a hotel receipt, forwarded from her work email to her personal one. 2 guests, 1 room. My vision blurred, the words swimming on the screen. I read it again, then again, hoping I'd misread it. I hadn't. When Elise came home, I was waiting in the kitchen, the receipt printed out and lying on the table like a guillotine. She froze when she saw it, her suitcase still in hand, her face paling. Derek, what's this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. You tell me, I said, my voice shaking with a rage I hadn't known I could feel. Who's the second guest, Elise? And what's with the handcuffs? The whip. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought she'd deny it, spin some story to patch the gaping hole between us. But then her shoulders slumped, and she sank into a chair, her hands covering her face. It's not what you think, she said, her voice muffled. God, Derek, it's not an affair. Then what is it? I snapped, my voice rising despite myself. Because it looks like you're living a double life. She looked up, her eyes red, tears spilling over. It's the side job, she said, her words halting. I didn't want you to know. I was embarrassed. It's not cheating, I swear. It's role-playing. For clients. High-end, discreet. I started last year, when we were struggling with the mortgage. I didn't know how to tell you. I stared at her, the room spinning. Not an affair, but a betrayal all the same. She'd lied, hidden a part of herself, let strangers into a space that was supposed to be ours. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered, my anger crumbling into hurt. Did you think I wouldn't understand? I was scared, she admitted, her voice breaking. Scared you'd look at me differently. Scared you'd leave. I wanted to scream, to forgive, to hold her, to walk away, all at once. Instead, I stood there, silent, as the woman I loved became a stranger. The truth wasn't the relief I'd hoped for. It was a different kind of wound, raw and jagged. We sat in the kitchen until dawn, talking, crying, unraveling 8 years of trust. She swore it was just a job, that she'd quit, that she'd never meant to hurt me. I wanted to believe her, but the handcuffs, the whip, the locked case, they lingered like ghosts, whispering doubts I couldn't silence. The twist wasn't that she'd cheated. It was that she'd chosen to carry the weight of her secret alone, thinking I couldn't handle the truth. And now, as I looked at her tear-streaked face, I wondered if I could.